This show is sponsored by Audible. Fans of It Matters can get a 30-day free trial of Audible Premium Plus. Stay tuned for details. Hello, and welcome to It Matters How We Treat One Another, the social science show. I'm your host, Matthew David Vasco. If you subscribe to this show on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, then thank you. We are grateful for each and every one of our subscribers. We are also thankful for our patrons on Patreon. Your support helps to make this episode possible. Rather than have a guest on this episode, I've decided to devote this early December episode to coping during the holidays. This can be a difficult time of year, even for people who aren't struggling otherwise. In our main segment, I will share pro tips to help you deal with grief and loss, loneliness, depression, difficult family dynamics, general coping strategies, and self-compassion. And finally, coping resources that are just a click or phone call away. This might be just the boost you need to help make this a happier and healthier holiday season. But first, our inspiring news. If inspiring things are happening in your neck of the woods, then please send us a direct message on one of our social media accounts and let us know. You can find us by our show name on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Blue Sky. This episode, we're tackling the difficult but essential subject of the alarming rise in political violence and threats in the United States. It's a problem that threatens the very foundation of our democracy. And this segment is meant as inspiration for leaders and for you to turn this tide back. The problem with political violence isn't just a handful of isolated incidents. It's a measurable, accelerating trend of threats aimed at the people who keep our government running. Consider these facts. Threats against lawmakers. The numbers are staggering. In 2016, the U.S. Capitol Police investigated just over 900 threats against members of Congress. That might seem high, but by 2021, that number had leapt to nearly 10,000 according to the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. That's a tenfold increase in 5 years, and the numbers have continued to rise since then. This year's number, 14,000. Targeting elections. Our election workers, the local citizens who count the votes, have been prime targets. The Brennan Center for Justice reported that after the 2020 election, a third of poll workers surveyed felt unsafe in their jobs. In 2024, Princeton's Bridging Divides initiative captured over 600 incidents of threats and harassment against local officials alone. The normalization of force. Beyond physical incidents, public opinion has shifted. Polling has shown that a significant percentage of Americans, particularly certain partisans, believe they, quote, may have to use force to save, end quote, the traditional American way of life, highlighting a concerning normalization of violence as a political tool. The bottom line is that toxic political rhetoric has created a permission structure for threats and aggression, making our political process more dangerous for everyone involved. How do you uphold a democracy if people are afraid to take on roles in public office for fear for their safety and the safety of their families? Experts from organizations like Brookings, the Carnegie Endowment, and Common Cause agree that reducing this threat requires a coordinated effort across society. Here is the three-part remedy they propose. 1. Leadership must denounce violence. The most critical step is for every political leader, from local city council members to national figures, to unequivocally condemn all political violence and intimidation. The principle: leaders must refuse to use dehumanizing language, the kind that paints opponents as, quote, enemies or, quote, treasonous. Research shows that when leaders use less inflammatory language, it reduces the justification for violence among their followers. Next, accountability. They must also be willing to police their own, publicly calling out and condemning threats made by individuals on their side of the political aisle. The message must be simple. Violence has no place in our democracy, period. 2. Strengthen security and the rule of law. Institutions must step up to protect targets and deter potential attackers. Consistent enforcement. Law enforcement and the judicial system must prioritize swiftly and consistently investigating and prosecuting political threats and violence. Meaningful legal accountability is a powerful deterrent against those who seek to use force for political ends. Protecting democracy. Resources must be dedicated to securing high risk targets, especially election officials and workers who are crucial to the peaceful transfer of power. 3. The average citizen's role. This is where you come in, the listener, the viewer. This isn't just a job for politicians. It begins with how we all engage. Experts suggest 4 concrete actions we all can take. First, call out your own. This is the most effective action. Studies show you have the most influence over your own political tribe. If someone in your circle, a family member, friend, or party leader, uses violent, dehumanizing, or threatening rhetoric, each of us has a responsibility to push back. Second, seek out the middle. Remember that most Americans are not extremists. Actively look for information that highlights nuanced disagreements within parties, not just the sensational conflicts between them. This helps to break down the us versus them mindset. Though we might not all be able to find common ground, there are certainly places where we are less divided. Third, practice empathy and perspective taking. Try an experiment. Read a story about a complex policy issue written from the perspective of someone in the opposing party. Research suggests that fostering this perspective taking can significantly reduce prejudice and hostile attitudes. And fourth, the final thing we all can do is this: get involved locally. Volunteer as an election worker. Join a nonpartisan civic group or participate in a local government meeting. Engaging constructively in the process is the ultimate rejection of violence. The title of this show is It Matters How We Treat One Another. It is a fundamental truth that the rising political violence is a direct consequence of a failure to uphold that principle. We have the power to change this. We simply need the courage to insist on civility, starting with ourselves. Again, if you know of inspiring things happening in your area, then please DM us on our socials and let us know. Thanks. Up next is our feature segment. But first, this show is sponsored by Audible. You probably already know that Audible is an outstanding source for audiobooks. But did you know that Audible is also an amazing resource for guided wellness? It's true, and fans of our show can get a free month of Audible Premium Plus just by clicking the link in our episode description or by visiting the podcast page at matthewvasco.com. Again, that's a free month of Audible Premium Plus by clicking the link in our episode description or by visiting matthewvasco, that's matthewvasco.com, and clicking podcast. And now our feature segment. Welcome back to It Matters How We Treat One Another. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about something that doesn't get discussed nearly enough: how difficult the holidays can be for so many people. We're surrounded by messages telling us that this should be the most wonderful time of the year. Store displays sparkle, music plays everywhere, and social media fills with photos of perfect gatherings and happy families. But for so many of us, the reality is far more complicated. The holidays can bring grief, loneliness, depression, financial stress, and the challenge of navigating difficult family dynamics. If you're struggling right now, I want you to know you're not alone and your feelings are valid. Today, we're going to talk honestly about these challenges and, more importantly, discuss concrete strategies and resources that can help you get through this season with more ease and self compassion. Let's start with grief, because for so many people, the holidays simply amplify the absence of loved ones who are no longer with us. Whether you've lost someone recently or years ago, the holidays have a way of making that loss feel fresh again. The empty chair at the table, the tradition you can no longer share, the phone call you can't make. These moments can hit hard. And here's what I want you to know: it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay not to be okay during the holidays. One of the most important things you can do when grieving is to acknowledge your feelings rather than trying to push them away. Our culture often pressures us to stay positive, be strong, especially during the holidays. But suppressing grief doesn't make it go away, it just makes it heavier. Here are some specific strategies that can help you cope with grief during the holidays. First, consider modifying traditions or creating new ones that honor your loved one while acknowledging your current reality. You might light a candle in their memory, share stories about them with others, make their favorite recipe, or donate to a cause they cared about. These acts can provide comfort and connection. Second, set boundaries around holiday activities. You do not have to attend every gathering or maintain every tradition. It's completely acceptable to decline invitations, leave events early, or take time alone when you need it. You might say something simple like, "This year it's particularly difficult for me, and I need to take care of myself." People will understand. Third, connect with others who understand. Grief support groups, whether in person or online, can provide a space where you don't have to explain or justify your feelings. Just being around others who get it can be profoundly validating. Remember, grief isn't something you get over. It's something you learn to carry. And during the holidays, that weight might be even heavier than normal. Be gentle with yourself. Now, let's talk about loneliness, which can be especially acute during the holidays, but it seems like everyone else is surrounded by family and friends. Maybe you're far from home. Maybe you've lost touch with family. Maybe you're single in a season that seems designed for couples and families. Maybe you're in a room full of people and still feel profoundly alone. That can happen. Loneliness comes in many forms, and it doesn't always look the way we expect it to. If you're feeling lonely this holiday season, here are some ways to create connection. Reach out, even in small ways. Send a text to an old friend. Call a family member you haven't spoken to in a while. The act of reaching out, even if it feels awkward, can break the isolation. Consider volunteering. Shelters, food banks, community centers, and organizations serving meals all need extra help during the holidays. Volunteering provides connection, purpose, and the good feeling that comes from helping others. It's also a powerful reminder that many people are struggling. You're not alone in that. Look for community events designed for people who might be alone. Many communities host gatherings for singles, older adults, or anyone who doesn't have family nearby. Libraries, community centers, and faith organizations often organize these events. If in person connection isn't possible, online communities can provide real support. There are forums, support groups, and chat communities for almost every interest and circumstance. The connection might be virtual, but the support can be very real. Let's move on to depression. Depression during the holidays is common and can be triggering or worsened by many factors. The stress of the season, the darkness of winter, the pressure to feel joyful when you don't, financial strain, or simply the weight of existing depression becoming harder to manage this time of year. If you're experiencing depression, here are some evidence based strategies. First, maintain your routines as much as possible. Depression thrives on disruption. Try to keep regular sleep schedules, eat regular meals, and if you take medication, stay consistent with it. The holidays can throw routines into chaos, but protecting these basics can help stabilize your mood. Second, move your body. I know that when you're depressed, exercise is about the last thing you want to do. But even a 10-minute walk, especially outside, out of doors, out in nature, can improve your mood. You don't have to train for a marathon. Just move a little and do it regularly. Third, be very careful with alcohol. It might seem like a way to cope with difficult or numb, uncomfortable feelings, but alcohol is a depressant. It can worsen depression symptoms or interfere with sleep, creating a downward spiral. Fourth, limit your exposure to social media if it's making you feel worse. Comparing your reality to everyone else's curated postings, know that what you see on social media is not the whole story. These things can create a recipe for feeling inadequate. It's okay to take a break. And please, if you're having thoughts of harming yourself or of suicide, reach out for help immediately. Call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They're available 24/7, and talking to someone can save your life. Now, let's address something that many people dread: family gatherings with difficult family members. Maybe it's the uncle who makes offensive comments, the parent who criticizes everything you do, the sibling whose presence brings back painful childhood dynamics, the relative who won't stop asking invasive questions about your personal life. The holidays can force us into close quarters with people we've spent the rest of the year carefully maintaining distance from. And it's really hard. Here are some strategies for managing difficult family dynamics. First, set clear boundaries before you arrive. Decide in advance what topics are off limits for you, how long you'll stay, and what your exit strategy is if things become too uncomfortable. Having a plan gives you a sense of control. You might prepare for polite but firm responses to questions or comments you're expecting. For example, you might say something like, I appreciate your concern, but I'd rather not discuss that. Or, that topic isn't up for discussion. Or simply, let's talk about something else. You can say these things kindly but firmly, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. Second, find an ally. If possible, connect with a family member who understands your situation. Having someone you can make eye contact with across the room, someone who gets it, can make a huge difference. You might even agree on a signal that means, I need backup, or let's change the subject. Third, take breaks. Step outside. Take a walk. Volunteer to run an errand. Hide in the bathroom for a few minutes if you need to. You don't have to be present for every single moment. Taking space to breathe and reset is not rude, it's self care. Fourth, manage your expectations. You're probably not going to change your difficult family members, especially not during a holiday gathering. Going in with the expectation that Uncle George will say something inappropriate or that mom will criticize the choices that you make can actually help you not feel as hurt or surprised when it happens. You can prepare your response and choose not to take it personally. Fifth, remember that you can leave. You are an adult and you have the right to remove yourself from situations that are harmful to your mental health. You might stay for dinner and leave before dessert. You might visit for an hour instead of the whole day. You might decide not to go at all. All of these choices are valid. And here's something really important. You do not have to maintain relationships with family members who are abusive, harmful, or consistently toxic, even during the holidays. The idea that family is everything and we must tolerate anything from relatives is simply not true. It's okay to prioritize your safety and well being. No one needs to accept abuse. You are worthy of safety. Across all of these challenges, some general strategies can help. These are general strategies for coping during the holidays. Practice self compassion. Talk to yourself in the way you'd talk to a good friend who's struggling. You wouldn't tell them to just be happy or criticize them for having a hard time. Extend that same kindness to yourself. Manage your expectations. The holidays don't have to be perfect. They don't have to even be good. Sometimes the goal is just to get through them, and that's enough. Limit your commitments. You don't have to attend every party, buy gifts for everyone, or maintain every tradition. Choose what matters most to you and let go of the rest without guilt. And finally, create your own meaningful moments. Maybe the traditional big family gathering isn't going to work for you this year. That's okay. You can create your own traditions, spend time in ways that feel good to you, or even treat the day like any other day, if that's what you need. Before we close, I want to make sure you have specific resources if you need additional support. If you're in crisis or having thoughts of suicide, call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They're available 24/7 and can provide immediate support. For general mental health resources and to find a therapist, visit NAMI.org. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. NAMI.org. You can also visit mentalhealth.gov. You can visit Psychology Today. They have a therapist finder tool. That's psychologytoday.com. And for grief support, you can visit whatsyourgrief.com. They offer articles and resources. For those dealing with difficult family dynamics or considering limiting contact, CaptainAwkward.com has excellent advice on boundaries and difficult conversations. Many communities also offer free or low cost support groups through hospitals, hospices, community centers, and faith organizations. If you're struggling this holiday season, please know that your feelings are valid. You're not alone, and it's okay to prioritize your well being. I'm going to say that again. It's okay to prioritize your well being. The holidays can be wonderful, but they can also be really hard. And both truths can exist at the same time. Be gentle with yourself. Do what you need to do to get through. Reach out for support when you need it. And remember, this season will pass. You're doing the best you can, and that is enough. Thank you for listening to this segment. I hope it was helpful. Take care of yourselves, and let's take care of each other. This brings us to the end of this episode of It Matters How We Treat One Another. Remember, you are worthy of well-being. The only shame is in not getting the help we need. Please subscribe to keep up with all of our episodes, and you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/itmatterspatrons. That's patreon.com/itmatterspatrons. etsy.com/itmatterspatrons. For less than a gingerbread latte at your favorite coffee chain each month, you too can be an It Matters patron and help make this show happen. You can also support us by shopping our Etsy store at etsy.com/shop/itmattersmerch. There are links in the description. If you want to help feed hungry people in Gaza and around the world, then please visit WFP.org and give to the World Food Program. That's WFP.org. They are not sponsors of this show. They're simply a cause we truly believe in because combating hunger is so vitally important. Your quote of the week is, quote, "It's okay if it's not the most wonderful time of the year," end quote. That is from psychologist Deborah Serrani. So go easy on yourself this holiday season and remember, treat everyone with the core four values of kindness, respect, empathy, and compassion, and try for love and acceptance whenever possible. Be well, and much love to you all.